Mr. Lang going to be here?
You know, I don't recall.
Okay. Well, if we have a quorum, which we do, because I see myself, that's encouraging. I can still see myself, and Tom and Jim and Mickey. Oh, there's Mr. Lang. So there we go. I don't have to chair. Okay, good.
Well, you caught me during dinner, so I'm going to turn off my camera pretty soon.
Please eat, please eat.
Thank you.
I don't see anyone else trying to get in right now. We do have 5 members present. So we do have a quorum.
Should we go ahead and start the meeting, James?
Whenever you're ready, sir.
Okay. So welcome to the March 2022 meeting of the El Sobrante Municipal Advisory Council, the SMAC. This is a council which is advisory to the Board of Supervisors. Today we'll start off with our roll call. James, would you like to go ahead?
Will do. Thomas Lang.
Present.
George Cleveland.
Here.
Tim Herman.
Present.
Melinda is going to be absent tonight. Mickey Norris.
Here.
Tom Owens.
Here.
And Miss Shirley said she would try to call in later. And I'm assuming Emily is working. I haven't heard from her. But
Yes, Emily had another engagement tonight.
okay, so we have a quorum.
Okay, good to hear. Do we want to do an approval of last month's? I know it's not on the agenda, James, but do we want to do an approval of last month's minutes? No, well, okay. So in that case, let's move on to the treasurer's report.
$3,000.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Joya will give a presentation on county issues.
Great. Thanks, Tom. It's good to see you all. Looks like, well, more people are coming. Looks like we don't quite have as many members from the public that I know we had in the heart of the pandemic. So hopefully that'll pick up over time. But so first I want to thank all of you for continuing to serve, during these times. And I wanted to give a brief update in addition to the update James will give at the end. So I want to first start by saying that this week, the Board of Supervisors discussed the issue of when do we go back to full-time in-person meetings at the board. And then what do we do with our county commissions and MACs? So we basically decided that we as a board are going to go back to hybrid meetings. So we will go back to in-person meetings at the Board of Supervisors starting for our last meeting this month, which I think is going to be on the, looking at it, the 29th, which is our annual Cesar Chavez celebration. And so that means our meetings will be hybrid. So the public can either show up at the board chambers or continue to be present by Zoom or by phone remotely. So we're going to continue the hybrid. That's going to be our new process going forward, in person or hybrid. So you can still participate from the comfort of your home or wherever you're at. However, we also understand that many of our MACs and commissions want to continue serving. So we're going to give them the option. So I think in District 1, what we'll do is we'll continue to have your meetings be by Zoom, and then you can discuss at a future agenda whether or not you want to go back to hybrid meetings where you could show up at the El Sobrante library and then have the public come or participate in person or remotely. So for now, we're going to keep the Zoom meetings for the MACs in District 1, and we're going to go back at the end of the month. So I wanted to relay that. Also, as you know, there's no more requirements or mandates for masks, as well as the vaccine verifications. However, it is still highly recommended by State Health Department to wear masks indoors, often when you're in a crowded situation. It's your choice, but there's a recommendation to do that, even though you don't have to. I wanted to update on a few other things. There was discussion when we were allocating Measure X, the new sales tax dollars, about a number of increase in services. As I think I pointed out to you, we are going to be spending $2 million a year to reopen the Pinole Valley Fire Station, which will get reopened next year, or first quarter of 2023. It will provide direct response sometimes into El Sobrante and Montalvan and Terra Hills, and be available in West County. So it'll be a good addition to have that fire station reopened in about a year. One of the issues that came up was whether to use any of the Measure X funds to increase the beat patrol in the Sheriff's Department in unincorporated areas. So the board did not allocate any money out of Measure X for the Sheriff's Department in beat patrol. However, we will be discussing in our normal budget process, looking at allocations from our yearly normal budget process, not Measure X, but our other county general funds, to consider additional support for the beat areas like El Sobrante. So let me tell you why so I want to say two things. I support looking at additional sheriff patrols out of our general budget. I think it'll come up for discussion, and you could weigh in on that when it comes up for discussion at the Board of Supervisors at our budget hearing in April. I did not support it out of Measure X because I think we made a promise to voters, as someone who helped lead the effort on Measure X, that it was going to be predominantly for health and social services and programs like that. So that's why I didn't support it out of Measure X. However, I do support looking at it out of our general yearly budget process. So I think that's a good time for all of you to weigh in if you want. And I think there's a possibility that we will do an allocation for increased services. I've often believed that the beat patrols in the unincorporated areas are underfunded. I know we've had discussion of a tax measure to fund it. We tried that a few years ago. It didn't pass, didn't get the 2/3, got a majority, but not 2/3. So if the budget allocation comes out of the general fund from the Board of Supervisors, then there would not be the need to have any separate tax measure, which really, I think, leads us to putting a work group together, which we've put together a meeting now for the park allocations. There's been a lot of interest, a lot of good community interest about a park in El Sobrante. And let me say this, I've said this publicly many times. The county doesn't have a park department, and the only parks it supports are able to support are those that have a funding source, basically a revenue measure, a tax measure. And so, as you know, we put together a group. We did have a meeting last year, but now one of the issues that came up is, are we going to look at funding a resident deputy? Are we going to look at funding parks? I think if there's a good possibility that we fund extra sheriff services out of the county's annual budget process, we won't have to then worry about that with our group to look at park funding. Makes it a more, I think, a more doable kind of challenge. So we will get a meeting together to look at that. And that measure could fund both the purchase of the capital purchase of a park, as well as the ongoing maintenance of a park. I think many people believe all we need is capital money to buy a park or build a park. It doesn't work that way at the county. The county needs an ongoing revenue source to fund the ongoing maintenance and operations of the park, which are quite costly over the years. And so, but any measure could fund both capital and operations. I want to say that. Another item that's going to come before you that I'd like to maybe ask for you to put on your agenda next month or the month after, depending when we get it, is the county has concluded with a traffic consultant a study of what it would be like if we reduced a lane of traffic on certain parts of the dam road to accommodate a new safe bike lane. So that study is going to get released pretty imminently. And I think the first place we'd like to at least make a presentation of it is to the El Sobrante MAC. So as soon as we get that, we'll let you know and put it on for a discussion and have Public Works present it. And basically what it looks at is what are the issues pro and con about creating a safe dedicated bike lane along the dam road from the reservoir into downtown El Sobrante or near downtown El Sobrante. And what would it mean? One of the things they're going to measure is how many extra minutes will it take to go through that stretch of road if there is one less lane of traffic and bike lane instead. So I think, well, nothing to report now, but as soon as that's out, I think we should have a discussion about that. There's been a lot of interest about homelessness, and the mayor of Richmond and city officials in Richmond, as well as myself and county staff, have been also meeting with Caltrans. You may have seen Caltrans has become pretty responsive, much more responsive in working with our homeless division in clearing Caltrans right-of-way along Interstate 80 in West Contra Costa County. And I know there's an officer from CHP on, and CHP is involved with those efforts as well. And then I think I had James send to all of you, so you would have it, the schedule of when Caltrans posted and would begin relocation. And you'll see on the list at the I-80 El Portal on-ramp, as well as I-80 McBride and those areas, they have been clearing those areas and looking to relocate those individuals who are living there off of the right-of-way into getting them into housing. The county did reopen its shelter in North Richmond. We also remodeled it to have it be more private, so it's not just congregate care. And as you know, the city of San Pablo approved a 54-unit housing project for people who are previously homeless, dedicated just to people who are homeless. So that's good news. It'll take a while to construct, but so for those of you I know working on homeless issues, there is been progress made by Caltrans. The other thing that's progress on that, we've talked about the issue that many people who are homeless have mental health or substance abuse issues, and many of them are not agreeing to go into services, into mental health services to help them. And the governor has heard a lot from local government that that's a big issue, and he's come up with this, what he calls a care court. And I'm sort of looking at some of this now. It's a proposal that would actually provide for the establishment of courts in every county to be able to refer people who have a mental health challenge to a civil court, and they could be referred by family members, clinicians, first responders like police or fire, behavioral health workers, crisis response teams, and they would then get linked to a court-employed supporter and use a shared decision-making model to try to develop a voluntary treatment plan. and the treatment plan could include stabilizing medication and housing, access to services. And if the participation would be, I think, about 12 months. So this is still being developed. It would give an additional tool to get people into treatment, because right now under state law, you cannot force somebody into treatment unless they have a conservatorship or they're eligible under Laura's law, which is a pretty narrow approach. So this is a way to try to get more people who need services into treatment. So that's good news. We're still also working, the hand crews are out. This is going to be an early fire season again. And with the additional funding out of Measure X, we have more fire crews out actually clearing brush. It'll soon be every day. That we'll update more on that. I'll get to questions. I see one here. When I finish, I'll go through the questions. See here, make sure I'm covering everything. Oh, and then there's a vacancy on the MAC, and we do have, we received interest, and we are moving to the board the appointment of Sue Boudreau, who is on here, I see tonight. Sue is active in her neighborhood in unincorporated El Sobrante. She was part of the group that organized the town hall meeting, remember, last year about homelessness. She's a teacher, and I know she'll get a chance to introduce herself when she comes on the MAC, and unless you all want to ask her to do it now, but I know she'll be on the MAC, hopefully get approved to be at the next meeting. So you'll have your full number of members. So Sue, welcome Sue to joining the MAC. She's on, she can raise her hand and wave. And so it's good to have active people join you. So I think I'll stop there. Let me see here. One other thing. We did approve Measure X funding, seed funding, to form a library foundation. So that this countywide library foundation could work to bring in more funding for our libraries, especially libraries that don't have very strong friends groups, like in Orinda and Walnut Creek. These groups raise tens of thousands of dollars, and over 100,000. We want to equalize that as an equity issue. And also the library in some cities gets extra funding from the cities that unincorporated libraries don't get. So the goal of this foundation is to help raise money on that. So with that, there was a question.
Well, can we start with questions from the board first and then go through the list?
Okay, yes. Okay, yes.
So just first question, John, with respect to the funding of the extra police coverage through the standard county budget, is the FTE you propose to fund equivalent to what would have been obtained by the resident deputy?
It may not be one full-time resident deputy. It may be more increased. It would be, remember, we were differentiating a beat officer or a post position is a 24/7 coverage, 7 days a week, right? 24/7, 7 days a week. A resident deputy position is 40 hours a week, as opposed to a 24/7 coverage, which is equal to probably 3.5 or more individual positions, right? To provide that coverage. So what we were talking about was a resident deputy that would be 40 hours a week. That's what we put on the ballot a few years ago, unsuccessfully, what we were talking about. What this would be is additional an additional beat officer position or positions that would cover El Sobrante and some other unincorporated areas. It's still being developed by the sheriff's department. I talked to the sheriff today about it. It would cover the understaffed areas in like Terry Hills, Montalvan Manor. As you know, El Sobrante has one beat officer, and that's it. So it would be a beat position that would probably cover several unincorporated areas that are nearby, like maybe Montalvan or Terra Hills. We'll see what the proposal is, as well as El Sobrante. So it would actually, you could argue it probably, while it's not a resident deputy, a 40-hour-a-week position, it would be a new 24/7 type of position that would cover several areas. So it's about probably an equivalent type of coverage, because it would be more coverage. They would have a larger geographic area, but it would be more coverage.
Okay, thank you, John. And Mickey Norris had her hand up.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, I have two questions. One is regarding the current COVID situation here in our area. How are we doing with that, aside from the masking? And I have a second question about AB 2374, the raising of fines on illegal dumping, if you know anything about that.
Yeah, so Contra Costa and Alameda have co-sponsored a bill to increase fines for illegal dumping, and it's working its way through the legislative process, which means, going to a committee first, Mickey. As you know, there was that kickoff out in East County a few weeks ago. I don't know where it is, at what committee yet, but we can, James, maybe you could reach out to Lara Delaney at the county and get that information and provide it to the MAC for those who, just to be aware. So yeah, the hope is it'll pass this year, and we could provide more information on that. What was your other question again, Mickey?
Yeah, my question was hoping that it's going beyond just fines, because I don't think, unless there's an enforcement tools to really, catch people, the fines are pretty meaningless. So there's got to be more, and public education. The other part was, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say illegal dumping has just been so challenging, because it is about enforcement as well. You don't want to throw people in jail for that, but how do you have the right amount of enforcement and it is about public education, and it is about so public education, what's the right fine, enforcement, and it's all of those that are needed. Yeah.
So the other part was, how are we doing in this area in the COVID situation? Is it, I go to Lake Ridge and people are starting to take off their masks, and I'm still wearing mine, and I don't know, how safe we are really here.
Yeah. So, everyone is making their own decisions on how much sort of protection to wear. I personally still wear a mask when I go indoors, generally, especially if I'm going to be in a crowd. I think that's still a safe, good thing to do. I'm just looking at the dashboard right now. 88% of residents in the county have at least one vaccination, and 80% have two. And of boosted, and I think it's up over 50 now. I have to look at that. But if you don't have your booster, definitely get a booster. I do think, the number of cases is down. 50% have a booster. So 50% have been boosted, 81% have two doses, 88% have one. So that's pretty good. The case has been down, the trend has been down. It's all good. I think the biggest issue is, whether we will have another surge, and what will that look like. And but I think right now there's been no recommendations to do anything further to close anything down. It's basically about, I think the best recommendation is to get boosted.
Okay, thank you for your question, Mickey, and thank you, Supervisor Joya. Are there any further questions from the board before we go to the audience? Okay, in that case, James, what do you think if we go to the questions in the chat, which came first, and then hit the screen? So Sona Kaur, Supervisor Joya, any measurable progress on the San Pablo Dam Road traffic safety excluding the bike lane? So road
Yeah.
issues, traffic, et cetera?
I put together a meeting between some East Bay bike groups and Public Works a few weeks ago to talk about the stretch of San Pablo Dam Road between Castro Ranch Road and Orinda. And specifically to address keeping that bike lane free and clear. So there was some gravel and debris that fell into that lane as a result of some winter storms. And so, there was concern by bikers that bikers would have to, get closer to the lane of traffic, which isn't good. It's unsafe. So Public Works cleared that, and we talked with the bike community about how to keep that lane clear to get out there as quickly as possible. Of course, there's lots of county roadway around the county, and after a big storm, when debris blocks the lane of traffic or a bike lane, then they have to get out and cover that and remove it. One of the questions that came up were the medians and the median pylons that were put up on the dam road. There was concern by bikers that the pylons were making cars drive a little closer to the bike lane than the median. So the county Public Works applied for a grant to install those based on traffic collision data, because there were a number of head-on collisions. It qualified them and made them eligible for a grant to put those in. The good news since that time is that those head-on collision, the data is there was a pretty significant reduction in accidents. So the pylons have been effective at reducing the head-on collisions and making that safer, which is why it's really important to keep the bike lane clear, so that cars, so the bikers are able to stay furthest away from traffic. Like, for example, Public Works had put some A-frame signs up in that bike lane when there was some debris in the lane, and those have been removed. And that's why we had good discussion with East Bay Bike Coalition about some of this. And part of the bike community wanted to know about the pylons and why, what was the data. And so the Public Works presented data about that. So as to other safety issues, clearly, I think the most unsafe, some of the safety issues between Castro Ranch Road going into El Sobrante is the fact that, there's not a dedicated bike lane, and when bikes have to drive out in the lane of traffic, that's dangerous, which is exactly, I think, why we'll have a discussion of this traffic study that deals with maybe creating a safe lane that could, that would make it safer to bike that stretch of San Pablo Dam Road.
Okay, thank you. Going to the next question, it's from Will Plute. Will, are you raising your hand for your question about the new member of the MAC?
Well, I have another
What's
thing.
another question?
I can.
Okay.
Yeah, Will can ask all his questions when he can ask them all when he's got multiple questions, it sounds like.
Okay, so why don't you go and ask them all?
Okay, well, I just wanted to ask, at the last meeting of the MAC, or maybe the one before, you talked about how it was okay to have a Richmond resident of El Sobrante on the MAC. And I thought you said if there were any resignations or openings, that would be the next member. Otherwise, it would be the next.
I think I said I was good. Yeah, I said I wanted to strengthen it and consider that, but I wasn't necessarily going to be a decision that it would be that somebody from Richmond, but trying to get someone who's active doing things in El Sobrante. And so I think we still want to bring in somebody from Richmond, and I think that opportunity will come up.
Okay, so it wasn't the next opening, but when would it happen? When could it happen?
Well, I think I definitely want to bring in someone from Richmond side who lives in El Sobrante as well, without making a commitment of exactly when, but I think there will be future opportunities.
Okay. All right. So the other thing was that you're talking about the dam road from Lake Ridge to Orinda. And I think we've talked about this a little bit. There's the old dam road down in the park. And actually I rode it recently, and I remember from years ago, it was totally washed out, but it's a lot improved. And it's like some spots are kind of gravel road. Has there been thought given to just improving that, or is that a problem because of the parks or?
Right. Yeah, I know that stretch. And so it's owned by East Bay Mud. And so it's probably not very likely that East Bay Mud is going to open that up. It would take working with East Bay Mud to develop a plan to do that. It's worth exploring with East Bay Mud. I mean, it would be an alternative for some to the dam road. It would take a fair amount of probably cost and effort, as you know, Will, to some of it is really more mountain bike passable, and others, there's a nice asphalt stretch. So it depends on that section, but to make it go all the way through would probably take a fair amount of investment by East Bay Mud.
Yeah, well, I think it'd be good to look at, because it wasn't that bad. Mostly it was paved road. It's a little old, but I mean, mostly it's fine for any bike. And there were a few, maybe 2 or 3 short stretches that are fine on a mountain bike, but a little rough for a regular bike.
I know, having served on the East Bay Mud Board back in the 90s, that they're always going to look cautiously and carefully at any section of their watershed that they're opening up. I know, and so it's worth opening the door to a conversation with them. I have a sense it would be a long conversation. In other words, take a lot of time, and maybe getting an initial read from them. Are they even open to considering it? I think right now, the priority is looking at the bike lane issue from Castro Ranch into downtown. I mean, I think that could be a parallel issue, but that's going to take some time.
It has taken time. Yeah. Already. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Sohela has her hand up.
Thank you. Thank you, Supervisor Joya. My question is, let me explain first that on May 1st, we are going to have an evacuation drill. It's a wildfire evacuation drill. We at 94803 Emergency Preparedness Alliance have been asking for it for a long time. Finally, Office of Emergency Services at the city responded to us and is organizing it. However, we're not in touch with Office of Emergency Services at the county. Per your request, they have cut their contact with us. May I ask you to please ask them to communicate with 94803 Emergency Preparedness Alliance?
So you said they've done what now? They've done what? You said something about cutting contact?
You asked them last year, or when Meredith was in charge, or maybe long before that, to only be responsive to El Sobrante MAC, not our community group, and they stopped responding to us.
I don't recall. Let me just say, I don't recall saying that to them. Did I say that? I don't recall saying that. I do know that they often look for one main point of contact in any unincorporated community, and that will tend to be the MAC. That's the approach that they take for the purpose of the MAC. But I don't think I specifically requested them not to be in contact with you. So I don't recall that at all. In fact, I think I understand they're going to want to look to certain official channels, and if both the MAC and 94803, maybe you both sort of do a request, but I think if you're going to have this kind of exercise with Richmond, it would make sense to have that kind of exercise with the county OES as well. So maybe, there is there a sheriff deputy, someone from the sheriff's department online here?
Lieutenant Rodriguez is online.
Yeah, maybe raising it also in raising it to the sheriff, both the MAC and Sohela, you, and maybe have the sheriff representative take that back to OES, since OES is part of the sheriff. Because I didn't specifically say don't listen to 94803.
I believe you. I trust you. That's what Meredith told me, and I understand she's not even at her position anymore. She moved out, and we totally lost contact with Office of Emergency Services. So my request to you is to please help us facilitate it, because our volunteers are trying to work to publicize the event as widely as possible, because that's the only way we can make it successful, where the county and the city learn how to cooperate and learn about their shortcomings and improve it for a real case of disaster. So we have better chances. So please just put us in touch, allow him and ask him to coordinate and cooperate.
When
with
is it, Sohaila? When-
May
when-
19th.
You know, one of the things that may make sense here, and even the MAC, you know, it would, maybe you should, I'd also suggest give an update to the MAC at their meeting, maybe as an agenda item next month. And the MAC, I think it's helpful to have both organizations request it and have the MAC say, yes, we agree, this would be good to cooperate with Richmond. I think, because obviously, I don't think it makes as much sense to do one in the city and one in the county, right? It makes
No,
more
it's
sense.
going to be at the same time.
Right, yeah. So I think, and the MAC tonight, there's nothing that prevents you from agreeing, and doesn't, you know, as part of the report, you can give that feedback to the sheriff's department tonight, that if you feel, yeah, we want to be involved in it and put this on your agenda for next month and have more discussion, but you could individually tonight, as you know, hear the report from the sheriff's department, provide whatever feedback you want about doing something like that.
Yeah, all I'm asking Supervisor Joya is just a point of contact so we can coordinate
Yeah.
with them.
All right,
So Halo, this is James. Is the point of contact Jim Yoke, and he's looking for another contact as he's
No,
running?
Jim Yoke is doing his job. I'm doing my job.
No, I'm sorry. You were
We're
asking
working
for a connection
together.
with for OES for the May 19th event. I was asking, was Jim looking for someone with the county to partner with on the May 19th event?
I'm sorry, I didn't get the question. What was it again?
Is Jim Yoke, he's running the May 19th.
He is.
He's looking for, he's also looking for a contact with the county's OES. Is that what I heard you
I
say?
don't know.
Okay.
His job actually is coordinating the emergency side. My job is just alerting the community, ask him to enroll in community warning system in Excel, make sure it's, you know, the word is spread as wide as possible. And
Understood. I was just asking if in your discussions with him setting up the event, that if that was something that he mentioned, but I do understand your role. Thank you.
he said he will do his best, but he's having a huge load of coordinating the city.
Yeah, and
It's never been done
right.
before. So
And I
it's a
think,
lot of
right.
work on his side, and we're trying to
But-
help and
right.
do our share.
And I want to stress, I think having the MAC weigh in as well is helpful, because I can tell you that the various county departments who, you know, the purpose of a MAC, you know, provide input to the county, and I know the sheriff's department does that. And so I think often, you know, having sort of the official MAC communication is helpful as well. So again, I'm saying this to the MAC members as you look at wanting to provide any input this month or next month to support that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
Are there any more questions for Supervisor Joya before we go on to the next presentation? Okay, so if there are no further questions.
There's something in the chat about traffic lights and talking to Arinda about the timing of those lights at.
Okay, and that's you. Okay, go ahead.
Because what people tend to do is they drive along the bike lane when they get really angry at being held up at the traffic lights, which is potentially fatal for cyclists. And it's jolly illegal as well, and it annoys all the other motorists.
Okay. I will find out who to speak with at the city of Orinda. I'll check with our public works department first, but
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, so if there are no, thank you, Sue. If there are no further questions, I think we can thank Supervisor Joya for his presentation and for the Q&A. And we can move on to the next presentation, which is Lieutenant Rodriguez from the Sheriff's Office.
And I will have to get off, leave. So, but I thank you. And I know, James, if you have anything to add, we'll add it later and fill me in. So thanks.
Thank you, John.
Lieutenant Rodriguez.
Hi, good evening. I apologize. I'm not able to join you guys via camera tonight as I'm in between two meetings. But just going back, so I don't miss it. Going back to the the evacuation for the wildfires. I'll get in touch with the OES manager and let them know that you guys are interested in doing something like that. If you can put your contact information in the chat, I'll do the same as well. And then that way I can help coordinate, and hopefully we can participate on the 19th of May. So as far as updates for this month, I apologize. I don't currently have the crime trend stats. We just recently had two of our crime analysts retire, and we're in the process of getting those stats updated. So I'll have those for you next month, but I apologize I don't have them for tonight. I will tell you that we are making progress with what seems to be one of the biggest problems throughout the county currently, which is the catalytic converter thefts. They're still coming up. However, we've identified and made several arrests. One of the most recent ones that was made at the end of last month was based on some surveillance footage and some information leading to the investigation. And we were able to get a confession from one of the individuals, and they were tied to multiple cases, some out of the sheriff's office. There was cases out of San Pablo as well. And there was also additional cases as far up as Sonoma County. So while they still seem to be a trend, we are making headway and getting there. One thing I'll ask is just continue for you guys. If you guys are seeing any suspicious activity within your area, please call it in. As much as it sounds like this might be a crime that takes time, and it's one that can actually be done very, very quickly. They're able to get underneath these cars. In some cases, they're breaking into the car and using the equipment from that vehicle to jack it up and then cut the catalytic converter off. And in some cases, they don't even need to jack it. They're jack the car up. They're just going underneath, cutting the converter off, and then leaving the scene relatively quickly. So please call it in if you happen to be a victim yourself or know of a victim of a catalytic converter theft. Please make that report to our dispatch. Don't report that online, because those are cases that are going to need follow-up, and doing it online, it just delays that process. So the sooner we can identify any witnesses or leads, the more successful we'll be at actually solving that crime. So as far as other issues within the area, we continue to reach out both to the unhoused or homeless population. We're also seeing an increase with RVs that are being either abandoned or being used as primary residence. The county has earmarked funds for that purpose, the purpose of removing the RVs that are abandoned, as most tow companies won't take them due to the costs associated with storing them and or having them salvaged. So if you have those or you're seeing those in your areas, please let us know. So that way we can work with county code enforcement to have those abated. That's all I have for this month. If anyone has any questions for me.
Okay, questions from the board for Lieutenant Rodriguez? Okay, if there are no questions from the board, any questions from the audience? Sohaila?
I just wanted to thank you, Lieutenant. I'll be in touch by email. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Okay, if there are no questions for Lieutenant Rodriguez, we can thank him. Thank you, sir, for your presentation, and we'll look forward to next month's with the updated crime stats. And we'll move on to Officer Levistay from the Highway Patrol.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for having me. Not anything new really to report this month. Everything seems to be status quo on our end. We had 13 traffic collisions in El Sobrante, 2 of which resulted in DUI arrests. We recovered 3 stolen vehicles, and we took 9 stolen vehicle reports. As I mentioned last month, we have some new officers in our office. I'm one of the training officers, so I haven't been able to make it down to El Sobrante as much as I usually do. But we were out a couple mornings ago and doing some speed enforcement on Dam Road. We also sent our special enforcement unit down there to Dam Road, close to Lois Lane, and I believe he made quite a few traffic enforcement stops down there earlier today. I received some complaints about some loud vehicles that were traveling down Pebble. I went down the area around the suspected times. I didn't find the particular vehicle that was the cause. But I'll continue to keep an eye out for this particular vehicle. I noticed some big rigs that were again starting to park over there on Dam Road near La Honda, and tagged a few of them, and they promptly left the area. And there were also some parking complaints along La Honda, which I also tagged quite a few of them, and those vehicles have been moved. Related to what the lieutenant from the sheriff's department alluded to, there was some RVs that were parked in the area that were reported to me. I did look into a few of those vehicles. Most of the vehicles were moved from where they were posted. One of the vehicles was currently registered and seems to be continuously moving. So it is legally parked, and there's not much I could do with that one. I think that's all I got. Any questions?
Okay, questions from the board for Officer Levistay? In that case, questions from the audience for Officer Levistay?
So, Hala?
Hi, Officer Levistay. This is Sona.
Hi, Sona.
Hi, thank you for the update. I just wanted to clarify, you said 13 citations, 9 collisions, and 2 DUIs?
There were a total of 13 collisions in the past 30 days within El Sobrante. Let's see. So it's 13 traffic collisions, 2 of which resulted in DUI arrests. There were 3 stolen vehicles that were recovered in the area, and 9 stolen vehicle reports. In other words, 9 vehicles were stolen from the area, and we took reports for those vehicles that came up missing. As far as the number of citations, I don't have the exact number, unfortunately. The special enforcement unit officer that was out there this morning or this afternoon gave me a total of 25 citations that he issued there, San Pablo Dam Road near Lois. I was there with my trainee the previous morning. Granted, we're still training. It takes him quite a bit of time to get through a typical traffic stop, but it's part of the training phase. We, I believe, wrote 4 or 5 citations just yesterday morning, but we obviously, with our presence being there, it slowed down the flow of traffic considerably. We were only there for, I believe, I want to say 2 or 3 hours. And the speeds that we were seeing initially were quite high, and then they immediately dropped. So I think the idea was made clear that we haven't forgotten about San Pablo Dam Road. We still it's still on our radar. We still show it some love when we can get some of our resources out that way.
Thank you. Is there any update on the speed trailer, the radar?
Yeah, I don't remember if I mentioned this at the last meeting. The trailer that we had before that was vandalized, unfortunately, is beyond repair. So the current plan of action is trying to secure funding for a new trailer. I don't believe there hasn't been much traction on that. We also wanted to look down the avenue of trying to possibly borrow the one that I think it was the county.
Might be Public Works has one.
Yeah, they had a trailer that we were we were thinking about seeing if we can reach out and borrow theirs, but we haven't moved forward with that yet.
Okay, thank you. Are you still getting calls and emails from our neighbors? Residents?
They've kind of tapered off, actually. The majority of the complaints that I'm receiving not so much about the speed anymore. It's more about parking complaints recently. So if there are still, obviously the speed on Dam Road continues to be an issue. So, you know, again, if we receive more of these complaints, I can again forward that up the chain, and we can get more of our resources when we can out that way. But we haven't forgotten about it, and we're still sending our resources when we can.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We'll put a reminder on Nextdoor to call and email. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question. And we've got questions from Sohaila and also from Will. Go ahead, Sohaila.
Thank you very much. So thank you, Officer. I have two questions for you. One is about May 19th evacuation routes. We look forward to your cooperation. I'm sure Jim Yoke from Richmond will contact you, but may I also have your email address if possible? And
Sure, I'll put it in the contacts for you.
Thank you. And the second question is, I used to work for Caltrans when there were fatalities, you know, there were studies after a casualty, and they would put traffic signal, you know, something would happen. On San Pablo Dam Road, there have been casualties, including a teacher who wanted to get on the bus and lost his life, as simply as that, for crossing the street. Still, we don't see any signal. Is CHP doing any studies, any suggestions, anything in addition to all the other great things you're doing?
Yeah, our part in that, as far as making doing changes to the roadway, that's not necessarily our. We can obviously make recommendations, but that's not our outlet. We as the law enforcement will do the enforcement. Now, this particular collision that you referred to, I believe that's the one over there by Pheasant, and that's primarily the spot that we do the majority of my enforcement in that area. There's other areas on Dam Road that I do obviously frequent, but that's the #1 spot that I use. So that's my response to the traffic collisions that are occurring. And I believe I'm making quite an impact on the speed in that particular stretch of Dam Road. From when I first started doing enforcement out there, the speeds were quite atrocious, and the speeds have continuously dropped to a more reasonable speed.
Yeah, but it'd be nice to have a pedestrian push button signal, like a hybrid beacon.
That would be nice. That would be nice. I believe that would be more.
That's more of a public works thing, and that Sohaila is the study that John was talking about earlier. That would be more. That would be more along the lines of addressing what you're talking about.
Thank you. I thought CHP would make the recommendation. Thank you very much, and I'll be in touch with you, Officer. I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for your question, Sohaila. We've got a question from Will Plute.
Yeah, hi, thanks. I'm wondering, you said there were 13 accidents this past month.
Yes, sir.
Are the reports available as public information? Because I would be curious to see the circumstances, because I'm going to guess a number might have been caused by people making left turns on the left lane across the Dam Road, or trying to turn onto the Dam Road, crossing traffic lanes. And one of the possibilities in this traffic study is to have a left turn lane in the middle of the road, which would, so it would be interesting and helpful if I could see the details of like what's causing all these accidents. Is that something that could be available?
As far as the availability of that information, I don't believe like the specifics of the collisions themselves are readily available. I do have some quick notes as to the majority of the crashes. I do have some quick notes on all the crashes, actually. The majority of the crashes that we had this month were actually on Appian Way, closer to Argyle, and they were relatively minor traffic collisions. Again, they're closer towards Argyle. I had another one by the Boys and Girls Club. The majority of the Dam Road crashes that I responded to and I handled were vehicles that were intending to make a left turn, as you mentioned, and then they'd slow down and stop there in the, call it the left lane, and then traffic coming in behind them, and that vehicle would get rear-ended. So that does contribute to a portion of the traffic collisions in the area. Majority of the traffic collisions on Dam Road are speed related though. So you are correct in that, not necessarily turning movements.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Are there any further questions for Officer Levistay? Okay, in that case, thank you very much, sir, for everything you do, and appreciate your presentation, and thank you everybody for the questions.
You're very welcome, and I look forward to seeing you guys out there on the road.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Tim.
All right, so James, is County Fire here?
No, they are not.
Okay, so why don't we go on to your presentation?
Okay, I had three things. John mentioned about Sue being appointed, so there's that. I've talked for several months about setting up a training for our MAC members on how to review land use applications. So we have a contact, and he has done a training similar to this before. So what I will send to all of you, well, actually, it's probably easier if I just ask you all, would you be okay with him doing his 30-minute, he said roughly 30-minute presentation at a MAC meeting, or would you like something separate with other MAC members? If you guys, have
I think, you know, the attractive aspect of having it at a MAC meeting is that not only the board members, but the community can see the standards we're being trained to, so they can hold us accountable to how we implement them when we discuss these things. So just that thought, but I'm happy to get the training under any circumstances.
I'd be interested in meeting other MAC members, just to see, you know, just to do it together with others, just to see, I guess just meet the other people doing similar work.
Okay.
I agree.
Okay.
Okay, maybe I misunderstood. So you meant a meeting between the different MACs as opposed
So it
to...
would either be at this MAC or something separate with you and the other MACs.
I think both are attractive, and, you know, whatever most people are for, I'll be happy with it.
Okay. So then I'll send you guys, I guess I can make like a doodle poll or something and send that out to all of you. So I will reach out to all of you with that, but I wanted to give you all a heads up that that was coming. I also wanted to mention the last thing is the encampment that's off of I-80 and El Bertel. Some of you may be aware, it was mentioned last month, but there have been a number of vehicles that have been exiting the freeway and driving down to the encampment there. We had our code enforcement department out there, that must have been yesterday. And they are going to be partnering with Caltrans and the CHP to have those vehicles removed, because there are several vehicles down there. One of them we know is stolen. Another, I've been told, has been set on fire. And the encampment is pretty well established there. So a little patience with the county and the state as we collaborate and they get together. That's going to be a heavy lift there, but we are making progress. And thanks to whomever brought it up last month. I know that Officer Levistay, that was you. Thank you, George. I know Officer Levistay was going to take a look, but I mentioned it to Supervisor Joya, and he and the Public Works Director spoke, and that initiated getting our code enforcement department out there. When they ran the plates, they were calling the dispatch to run the plates, and they were told by the dispatch that the plates had come back stolen for the vehicle. So we are paying especially close attention there, and I will update everyone as we move forward there. East Bay Mud, thought they were going to be able to make it this month, but they will be here at our MAG meeting in the month of April. And that is all that I have. Are there questions for me from the council?
Any questions from the council? Doesn't look like there are any questions from the council, but Doug Beaver has a question. Doug, go ahead. You need to unmute yourself.
Hi, James. just wanted to verify what I thought I heard from John. And is the presentation for the San Pablo Dam Road going to be at the next MAC meeting?
So we don't have the report yet. So it'll either be April or May from what John said, but we don't have it yet.
Okay.
So I will not commit to April for sure. And as it relates to us having East Bay mud next month, we'll see. It may be better to have it in May, and it may not turn out that we don't get all the information back and forced to have it in May. But with East Bay Mud presenting next month, if we don't have any other large presentations, we may be able to do both. But there'll be a fairly large outreach because this affects more than just unincorporated residents. It's City of Richmond residents. So there will be a bit of a push to get the word out to a lot of people. I'm thinking the May meeting so that it's, sort of dedicated to just that. So we'd get our regular reports, but then I'm thinking, I didn't know Supervisor Joy had that in mind. So we will likely have that discussion in May, and it'll probably be mainly focused on that.
Okay, so I can get a commitment out of you that it will be by May.
I'm going to say that, yeah, we're recording. Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Now, if anything
we've been
changes,
trying
I'll tell you in April. If there's anything, but I'd be very surprised if we didn't have it in May.
Yeah, we've been kind of anxious for that report, so I'm glad to hear this.
Copy that. Thank you. And
Thank
Will, and then I'll come to Mickey. Thank you, Doug.
Yeah, hi. I believe that Supervisor Joya said that the revised report was going to go to the task force and then to the MAC, but it sounded like tonight he said it's going straight to the MAC. So is the task force over now, or what happened?
Nope, the task force is not over. The task force will still be meeting.
So
Yep.
will it,
He may have left that out, but I've got a huge note here on my desk.
okay,
Yep.
all right. Well, that sounds good. Thank you.
Yep, I hadn't forgotten that. No, we're still gonna meet.
Okay. Mickey, did you have a question?
Yeah. So while I said that my preference was for doing that meeting about the plans, how to read plans with other MAC members from other places, I'd also like to know from the people here on the call who are not on the MAC, are you interested in that? I mean, is there interest amongst, because it doesn't seem like I'd want to take the time out of a meeting to do that unless there's really interest by the rest of the community that they want to hear it. So I don't know if anybody wants to say one way or another.
I may go back to Francisco and he says, James, I don't want to present to the MAC. I'll present to just the group of MAC members.
Yeah.
So I'll find out what he thinks about presenting at the MAC.
If I may, I think it will be good for the MACs because while we'll have standards to live up to, quite frankly, I think the members of the public would need something to stay awake. So, and
That's
I
my
think,
thought too.
and we want to reserve the MAC meeting for things like talking about Dam Road and when my employer comes to the meeting next month and so on and so forth, because those, well, I don't think you'll need something to stay awake for that. So that's just my thoughts.
So I think you're both making a really good point. I think a lot of that discussion would be soporific, to use a vocabulary word.
Oh, good vocabulary word, Thomas.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
When you do a crossword puzzle, remember that. But I think maybe it would be good, once we've had this training, for maybe one of us to do like a brief presentation kind of on the standards, like an executive summary or something, so that people know what we're judging these things by and how we form our opinions, just for transparency's sake. But I don't feel really strongly about that, but it's just a thought.
I think that would be a good thing that we go through the training with the other MACs and then come back to a subsequent MAC meeting and just tell the folks what we learned and what we need to know so that they have an idea if they have questions they can ask. But as I said, that would be my preference because I don't think the public wants to deal with something, as you put, soporific.
Yes.
I
Okay,
can barely stay awake for it, I think.
all right.
Now, look, you all better stay awake. You all been hounding me a little bit about this training. You all better stay awake. You give me a bit of a hard time. That concludes all that I mentioned. Oh no, I apologize.
Sue has a question.
I'm sorry. We met with Caltrans. And Caltrans will be assisting. We're not quite sure how, but I do believe we're going to get an additional community cleanup day thanks to Caltrans. The Clean California funding, we spoke with some guys, that must have been Monday. So yeah, I just wanted to give everybody a heads up. Caltrans is stepping up and they are, from what it sounds like, going to give us or cover the cost for several additional bins for us to have outside of the allocation that we receive as part of the franchise agreement. So small shout out to them. They've been doing a lot of work in the area with encampments, repairing the sound wall on 80 in between, I think, McBride and San Pablo Dam Road. If you're on eastbound 80, they've been working on fixing the wall there, which has been, that hole has been there for some time. So they are making their way and their rounds through the various cities and counties. They have popped up at 3 meetings that I've been at in the last 2 weeks. And they appear to, by all accounts, to be putting their money where their mouth is and supporting us. So I will definitely know more by April. But I wanted to give everyone a heads up. It looks like we'll be able to get an additional community cleanup day.
Awesome.
Tom Owens.
Yeah.
Yeah, James, I just wanted to clarify that you're talking about a separate day from our October.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
But it'll be dumpsters and Republic and all
Right.
that.
It will hopefully. Okay, so I want what's easy. So I just like for them to cover the cost of 4 dumpsters and then we just have it where we normally have it. No change to anyone or anything, but we're working in partnership with with the city of San Pablo. So we're putting our heads together, but that's the hope. That's the hope.
Okay, great. That's good news. Sue, did you have a question? I noticed there's something on the chat.
Sorry.
I was saying that the training could be open to the public for high interest citizens so that we don't exclude people who really want to come. But it be an additional meeting, a training.
I will ask Francisco, but I like that suggestion.
Okay.
And I mean, the other thing to keep us awake is I went to some trainings for this kind of thing, and it helped to keep the open lands above in the Canyon Park area, the Clark Road area. And so it's like the law is power. And so that will keep me awake because I think it's going to help us to be able to also find some ways to work around things that we really want for our community if we're really aware of what the law is. So, yeah.
Thank you. So if there are no further questions for James, then we can move to our discussion items. And so speaking of the devil, we do have a discussion item. And I guess, James, one question I have, is there somebody from the county to introduce the issue?
Nope. Generally, we notify the applicants in case there are questions, but I'm not surprised that they didn't come for this. This just seems to be a rearranging of property lines.
So as I understand it, the same owner has 3 structures on different parcels and their lines overlap, and she just wants to consolidate it onto one parcel. And there are a few variances, correct?
Yeah, that's how I understood it.
I don't have really any comment about that. Do any of the other council members have a comment?
Let it go.
All right.
It's a small.
I actually do have a comment I wanted to make on it.
Okay, great.
I did.
Go ahead.
So, I mean, were these buildings put up without permits? How did they build these in the first place if they don't fall on, outside of the plot lines?
Good question. They could just be that old. I mean, they could just have been
Well,
around
then
a long time and they're
it should have been when they split the lots, they should have taken that into account. And also, if they're redoing the lines, why are they not doing them such that have the proper offsets? They're doing them right now, so they have to have exceptions for where the buildings are. They're too close to the lot lines.
Yeah.
So I had a
That may
couple
not be a-
questions,
may
and
not
if
be a
there's no
choice, but-
representative here,
So
I wouldn't vote for it.
So do you think thank you, Tom. Those are good comments. So James, my thought on this is when I send the email to, I guess it would be Grant Farrington, I could put Tom's questions in there.
Yes, sir. That's what this is about.
Okay,
There are
so
questions to present them to the planner so that the planner can address them with the applicant. That's mainly what we're doing here.
okay, James, you've recorded the meeting, so maybe you could just
Jot down Tom's
jot down Tom's comments and send them to me.
Will do, sir.
Okay, great. So I think we can just take a vote to say one comment regarding one comment composed of Tom's questions. Does everybody, do we take a vote on this, James?
Yep, I can take the roll on it.
Okay, I vote for that. Yes.
Yep. All in favor, Tom Lang,
Yes.
George Cleveland,
Oh, yes.
Mr. Herman,
Yes.
Mickey,
Yes.
okay. Mr. Owens.
I still have my reservations, and I'm not sure what the motion was, but,
The motion is just to forward your comment.
oh, okay, then yes.
Thank you.
I'm not giving, an okay for doing this as
The
it's
word
being-
carte blanche, the phrase carte blanche will not appear on the email.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
So we now come to the public comment section. So speakers have 2 minutes to convey something on their mind that wasn't on the agenda. And I'd like to just start off with a public comment. And it's sort of a public question. What is the date of the meeting where the budget item for the extra police coverage will be discussed? The Board of Supervisors meeting? John Joya said sometime in April.
That'll be during the budget talks. That'll be coming up. It's another one of these sticky
Is
notes.
that early or late April?
I don't know exactly when. I'm not gonna
Okay.
speculate, but I've added it as another humongous sticky note to my monitor here. So once I find out, it'll come to you in an email. I won't wait till the meeting. I'll make sure to.
Okay, so we just heard from Cheryl. We just heard from Cheryl Suddeth. It's the 12th of April. So I'm in favor of getting more police coverage here, and I would be happy to go to that meeting to convey that, and perhaps it would be helpful for those of us who would like to see it to come along together to it. Is anybody interested? Okay, well.
I'd be interested in going for it.
Okay, I think those, if we're interested in it, we should collectively convey our support. And it looks like, so that was my comment. It looks like Sohaila has a public comment.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate the opportunity. I would like to inform you all that there will be a wildfire drill on May 19th. We need your cooperation at El Sobrante MAC to inform the people, request that they sign up for community warning system and also for Nixle, which is for Richmond. The city actually, Jim Yoke is telling me, has to train its own staff to do such an exercise, which is awesome. Great. We're learning about the shortcomings. It's going to be on a weekday, so many people will not be able to participate. We don't know the details yet. We don't know the length of the drill exactly, you know, what it entails, how far people have to go. He's organizing it with Red Cross, other entities. So more details will come. But 94803 Emergency Preparedness Alliance has prepared a sign-up sheet. It's going to be sent out soon. So I would like to ask you and James to help spread the word so we'll have the maximum enrollment. The more people participate to it, the more it will become like a real situation. So we learn to better prepare for a real wildfire or any disaster evacuation. So just information and requests for cooperation. And I'll be happy to be the point of contact. Volunteers are working with the sign-up sheet to prepare it. And I'm not sure actually how to spread it besides email. By the way, I'll be traveling during April. I won't be able to participate in MAC meeting because of the time difference, but I'll be happy to coordinate electronically. So any suggestions, ideas, please, we'll be more than happy to take it.
Thank you, Sohaila.
Thank you.
Are there other public comments? Sue.
How does the MAC just do publicity for stuff like this? How do we get the word out to the public?
So I use the distribution list that we have set up, that I send the meetings to. It's an opt-in list, and then we'll use Supervisor Joy's social media page, which reaches quite a few people. But anyone that gets the flyer information, posting it on Nextdoor, I know. I guess that's for however you feel about Nextdoor, but it's a good place to share information. If there are flyers, we can print flyers. If folks want physical flyers to hand out to places, we can absolutely do the printing for that. So let us know. We're pretty open to sharing the information, however is the best way. But someone, definitely neighbors, sharing it on Nextdoor. Supervisor Joy will use his social media. I'll use our distribution list. And as soon as the flyer is generated, we can attach it to the agenda for April and for May, El Sobrante MAC meetings. So that's how we share our information typically.
James, may I ask how many people are in the mailing list for El Sobrante?
About 130.
Okay.
That includes some of our law enforcement. So what happens with the list is people will receive the agenda for a while, and then I'll get an email that says, remove me from the list. So there's a back and forth. I add and remove people throughout the year.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. Any further public comments? In that case, we can go to information items. Information reports by MAC members. Okay, we don't have that. And James, maybe you could just briefly talk about the vacancy.
So there was a vacancy between Friday and today, but that seat is now being occupied by Sue. Her board order officially appointing her will go through on March the 22nd. And she will be a full member by the April meeting.
We're glad to have you, Sue.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here. This is part of what I want to promote community right here in my neighborhood and in El Sobrante. So I'm really honored to have been chosen. I do feel a little awkward about it, though. It feels like It wasn't properly advertised. It feels like there weren't, did you, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to be stepping on anyone's toes, right? So.
I wouldn't worry about that.
No,
We have a list of applications in the office from the many people that have applied over the years. Supervisor Joy doesn't make these decisions lightly. I'm sorry you feel that way, but.
Well, I was just thinking about the fact that it came up this meeting, but it's already been filled. And I was also being sensitive to Will's comment about a Richmond resident.
Yeah, well, so I mentioned it last month that the seat was vacant. So there's been roughly a month between then.
All right, that's fine. Thanks.
Believe me, I'm not trying to do things that can cause more problems for myself. No, there's proper notice has been given.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so we can move on to subcommittee reports, and we have a very active subcommittee, and perhaps Mickey can talk a bit about it.
Hi, okay, thank you. So congratulations, Stu. I hope you'll be part of our, I think you already are part of our subcommittee, a very active person in this realm too, and we really appreciate that and look forward to working with you. In fact, we're having an illegal dumping subcommittee meeting this coming Monday, March 14th at 7. And if you don't have the Zoom invitation, maybe James can post it or write to James and let him know to add him to the list that he puts out. But we'll be talking there about our activities. We are continuing with our third Saturday cleanups of each month. The next one is March 19th. And I appreciate, James, that you included something about that in the agenda this time so that people will have it in writing as well. And also on the 14th, we're going to be talking more about our Earth Day event that we're planning for April 23rd. So in April, we're not going to have our regular third Saturday because we want to do it on the fourth Saturday, which is closer to the Earth Day, which is officially the 22nd, but we're doing it on the 23rd in conjunction with spawners. So we're going to have a cleanup of the not only the streets, but the creeks at the same time, and hope to get a lot of participation from the community. And I appreciate, James, that you printed off some flyers. So we have some flyers available. We're going to start putting those out, putting up posters in businesses to let people know about our Earth Day event. Registration will begin on Saturday, April 23rd. It's all staged from the El Sobrante Public Library once again, which has been real supportive of our efforts and has actually allowed us to use their dumpsters for our Saturday cleanup. So that's been very helpful. So that after we do our litter cleanups, we're not having to leave so much stuff on the side of the roads. They look much nicer. And I think I'm noticing, I don't know if it's my imagination, but I think El Sobrante is looking a little better, that we're staying on top of this. And I think we're getting more of a handle. It's an ongoing process, obviously, and I'm looking forward to that AB 2374 to hear more about how they plan on, if it does pass, that increasing the fines for illegal dumping but we need more than that, because we really need people to know about that, and maybe we need cameras. Everybody's always saying we need cameras, but then we've heard that they're not so effective. So I'm not sure what the answers are, but we're still working on it. So on Monday night as well, we're having a presentation from Lauren Iverson, who is the program director for Spawners, and we'll learn about more what Spawners does, because they're really trying to stay on top of a lot of the local creeks to prevent more pollution and to maintain the areas with native plants and all kinds of things. Also, Sue Boudreau is going to give a little presentation at our next meeting on the Monday about the after cleanup celebrations. So we are opening registration 9:30 in the morning. People will clean up from 10 to 1 at designated areas, either the streets or the creeks, and a few people might help with gardening project around the library. But we need help with promoting this. So if you can help us get the word out about this, because we really want this to be a very much a community building activity as well. And from 1 to 3, Sue is going to lend her teacher skills and lead a children's activity. And maybe you can speak to that just a little bit here tonight, Sue. And so we'll also have a little bit of music. We're looking for sponsors for some food for our volunteers for appreciation for their help in cleaning up on the 23rd. And hopefully we'll have some music. Chris, my husband, is going to play some guitar. And and then we hope to have a few inspirational speakers. And also we'll have some info tables so people can pick up information on recycling, how to get rid of your stuff. We have a bunch of handouts on those already made up that we did for National Cleanup Day. And so we have a lot of information to give out, and we invite some community organizations to also join us in tabling and get their information out. Hopefully 94803 Emergency Preparedness will be there and give out some information, or at least a flyer about May 19th or whatever they want to do. And so you're all invited. You're all invited to Monday night. You're all invited to third Saturday cleanups, March 19th, next one. And then the big one on April 23rd, which is our Earth Day, and to honor Mother Earth by cleaning her up. And it's also kind of spring cleaning time, so we can look at it that way as well. So that's my report. More to talk about at our meeting on Monday night, 7 o'clock. Hope
Okay.
to see you there.
Thank you. Great summary, Mickey.
Yeah, I just wanted to see if Sue wanted to just talk for a minute about what the activity will be that you're going to be leading, because it's very exciting.
I don't have the document brought up right now, but basically I'm going to be setting challenges for kids to make something that is useful, make something to wear, make something that is beautiful or unusual. And there'll be various different categories of stuff that, they'll be modeling and have a little competition and that kind of thing. So, and we have somebody in our group, I think, Mickey, who is going to be providing some clean recycled materials, because they'll be repurposing stuff that would otherwise be trash.
Excellent.
Is that what you wanted?
That sounds fantastic. It's more than I was expecting. So
plus it's going to involve glue guns, a lot of glue guns.
That's always fun. By the way, today I went to the Marin Center, where they have a little art exhibit about by this artist that use all kinds of like bottle caps and different kinds of recyclables things and made beautiful art from it. So I recommend that as well for people to drop by.
The other thing that I wanted to just put out there for everybody, that it's not all bleakness, because the UN just voted on a bill that's binding to talk about the life cycle of plastics globally. So there's some big and good news about that. The tiny bit of good news in the otherwise appallingly dark landscape of the news at the moment.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mickey and Sue. So if we don't have any questions for the illegal dumping subcommittee, then we can move on and see if there are suggestions. Oh,
I forgot one thing. I just forgot to mention, people can always look at our website, keepelsobrantebeautiful.info, for updates on latest events and more ideas about getting rid of stuff. Hopefully we'll have more about the plastics issue as well. I'll put it in the website in the chat.
And I do think that the event that you're talking, the Earth Day event, is something that would be so great for MAC members to come to publicize what the MAC is to the majority of neighbors who probably don't know what it is, and so that we get more community involvement in that too.
You're going to be a great member, Sue. Thanks.
Okay, in that case, thank you both, and we can move on to suggested agenda items for the upcoming meetings. I'm happy in terms, we recently had a COVID presentation and we're going to have EBMID. Are there any other suggested speakers? Okay, if no one can come up with something off the top of their head, feel free to send suggestions to James, maybe copy me just for fun. And if there's no discussion of upcoming speakers, then I think we can adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everybody. It's been a really productive and informative meeting. Great discussion.
Absolutely. Have a good night, everyone. Take care.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.